Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Hey there, Motorheads. Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Right now, we are outside of the cozy confines of our Shade Wagon studio. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the headquarters of Brand New Muscle Car, the world's premier muscle car builder. They have incredible muscle car builds here. They do resto mods, they do restorations, and they build brand new cars from scratch that look just like the original from the 60s. In fact, they're going to be building a 67 Mustang in their own TV series coming up later this year. Keep an eye on local listings for that. But first, let's talk about the task at hand. We have Mark Chasteen on the line from Liquitube. Liquitube, of course, is famous for their industrial tire sealant. Prevents flats, it fixes flats in lots of vehicles. And Mark, you found when you got these fleet drivers, truck drivers and that sort of thing in your facility, you found that there was a common bond between them. How are they particular about their trucks?
So on top of keeping their tires completely protected from flats, keeping them balanced, we also notice these people are very particular about how their vehicles look. So we have a lot of different industries we service. We said semi-trucks, freight haulers, power equipment, power sports, motorcycles, lawnmowers. They're also very particular about keeping them clean, keeping them looking nice, especially if it's a dealership selling these types of pieces of equipment. So, we're very well connected in industrial markets. We knew about a great product that would be great for these industries. So we brought it on board, Liquitube CCS. The CCS stands for Clean, Coat, and Shine. It's an all-purpose cleaner, all surfaces, and a great rinse-free cleaner that is great for these industries.
Now, there are other cleaners out there, other protectants out there. How does Liquitube CCS compare to the others? What sets it apart?
So again, the category it's in is rinse-free. You don't need any water. Spray it on, let it sit for a little bit. It dissolves whatever's on your machine. But what really sets it apart is that second part, the coat. So it's got a polymer coating that anything that it dissolves, it also encapsulates and keeps it from being sharp, keeps anything from scratching. So it dissolves what's sitting on the vehicle, dust, dirt, mud, bugs, and then it encapsulates it so when you go to wipe it off, it doesn't scratch the surface. We also have great towels. I know you've got some examples of our towels there. Very deep, thick microfiber. So again, when you go to wipe it off, everything goes up into the towel and doesn't push up against the surface, scratching the surface. This cleaner, again, clean, coat, and shine. That polymer coating then also leaves a protective coating on whatever you're washing so that it gives it a nice shine, but more importantly, dirt, dust, and bugs, tar don't stick to the vehicle anymore. So anything you clean with it, again, good for all surfaces, all the plastics, Lexan, the opaque plastics, the painted plastics, plexiglass. And again, we can get into why it's really great for plexiglass, but and then also all your metals, your aluminum, your stainless steel, chrome, and then painted metals as well. And then you get into leather and vinyl and pleather and all those things. Again, great for all surfaces. Spray it on, let it sit for a second, wipe it off. You get a protective coating that's slick. And what you'll notice is the next time you go to wash it, everything just slides right off. Again, if you're on a motorcycle going down the road, bugs and everything are hitting and sliding off. It's really great to keep your vehicles clean.
Mark, talking about the towel, you said it's seamless. How do you get it to be seamless?
Okay, so this is the towel here. Like I said, very thick microfiber with no seams for scratching. And you can't rip this towel. It's very solid. But let me get a cut started here and show you. It's a self-sealing seam so that as we rip this, it won't fray any further. Now it's not rippable anymore. Half the towel here, and that's how they can make a towel that's completely seamless. It's got this self-sealing fabric so that as they cut it to the sizes we need, it's completely seamless and cannot scratch. Like we mentioned earlier, the plexiglass in some of these windshields now is an example. When people go to clean it just with paper towel, Windex, sometimes there's sand, dust on there, and they're noticing that over time they get a foggy look to them, and those are micro scratches in the plexiglass. Again, with our seamless towel, you've got no seam that's going to cause any scratching. And then you've also got the thick towel, so you're not pushing, again, any of that dust, sand, or dirt up against the plexiglass windshield.
There's a major manufacturer out there that actually uses Liquitube CCS and recommends it to their customers. Which one's that?
So we make this currently in a private label for Kubota. We've got the same exact product in the Kubota brand, and that was specifically, again, some of their plastic hoods and things like that on some of these UTVs, RTVs, and then also the plexiglass windshields on the cab that they were noticing they needed a solution for, and then they found out that our CCS was a great solution. We also make the tire sealant for Kubota as well. But working on some other brands, equipment manufacturers right now that everybody's starting to realize that this is the solution for plexiglass.
And there's another new industry that you're working toward. Are you free to share those details?
Yeah, so I won't say specifically the manufacturer, but the #1 manufacturer of plexiglass windshields for the racing industry has also found out about CCS, and they've been doing some testing, and they told us the same thing. Hey, this is the solution we've been looking for. It's a safety issue for the race cars, being able to keep those windshields clean and not have to worry about them having any of that fog look or scratching when they're driving underneath the lights.
You can find Liquitube CCS and Liquitube's other products at liquitube.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by Dragonfire Tools.com from our studio next.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonfireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
Thanks for joining us here at Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. UTVs like this, they call them side-by-sides, come from the dealership with all kinds of things ready to hit the trail. You've got the big tires, you got the bull bar on the front, and a giant windshield so you can see out the front. But Keith, the windshield, it helps you while you're driving it, but it can be kind of an Achilles heel of these things. How so?
Well, first of all, if you have this thing on a trailer and you're bringing it to your destination, you have dirt, rocks, any kind of projectiles that could break or make it dirty. So what's the first thing you do when you have to get on the trail then?
You clean it. That's the first thing you do after you get off the trail, too.
Exactly, right? So even if it's a Lexan or glass, anything you have to do, you're cleaning that windshield. Now, a couple things with that. Now you're scratching it up, and, well, you're lowering the life of that windshield.
And you especially see that with the Lexan. You get the swirl marks on
100%.
it, and you're trying to drive through the sunset, and it could be actually a safety hazard when you're out there as well. And a broken windshield, of course, is a safety hazard as well.
And they're not cheap.
So what kind of insurance policy can I have against a broken windshield on a side-by-side like this?
Well, that's why we put together a windshield cover that goes on here. So,
and this is called the Fit to Ride.
Fit to Ride.
It's your invention.
That's correct.
Yeah, so what inspired this?
So I actually needed something for mine. I have a Maverick X3. So what I did is I was using it on the oil and gas industry, going up and down the mountain. And what we did then is we used like a rock guard, like something that we use in the facility. And what had happened was I had a whole bunch of people ask me where they can get it. And eventually I was like, well, if there's a lot of market, like there's a lot of people are asking for this. So I went and I did a bunch of deep dives in the patenting to see if anybody else had anything else out there. I looked for it everywhere and I couldn't find it. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go for it. So you're seeing it now from a necessity that I had on the side of a mountain. And this is where it starts, right here. So what we have is we have 160-pound pull force magnets. These are actually built right into the cover. They're directional. So one side, it has very little magnetism. The other side is 160-pound pull force. Then the other one goes on the inside of the window. And then when you have these two together.
Here, let me see that. There's no way those are coming apart.
No.
So and that's how they're installed with 8 of these. So let's take a look
correct.
at how it actually installs them. We've got our magnets sitting on the dash here. We'll position this in the right spot. Super easy. You can do it yourself. You can do it with a buddy. We've got the magnets marked here with some tape here, or some stickers.
Yeah, the glow-in-the-dark sticker really helps stand out, especially for some of the people that have tinted windows or anything like that. Those glow-in-the-dark stickers stand out really well.
Excellent. There it is. One more to go. And this thing is not going anywhere. This is going to stay on at high speed down the highway.
That's what I mean. Remember I was telling you, like, you can move this thing? That's And they're not even, we didn't even take the double-sided tape off yet. That's not even, that's just a dry fit. And the reason we do a dry fit is because you can then come outside, like, we didn't actually take that off yet, but we did position it. The reason for that is now you can come out here, make sure that it's exactly where you want it, because it'll move. And when that's all said and done, the hard part then is just going in there and taking that red tape off there. That's the hardest part of this operation.
Now, of course, we know this works, it's great for side-by-sides and vehicles like this. What are some of the other applications you're finding that folks are using it for?
So our RV, a recreational travel trailer at fifth wheels, flying off the shelf. So a lot of those newer travel trailers or RVs, they have the big window up front, which are great, except if you hit a rock. You know, especially if you left your house 5 minutes down the road in your family vacation that you've been planning for 6 months. There, that ended your vacation real fast. With the fit cover put on there, the magnets on there, and the dynamic pressure that holds it on there, it doesn't go anywhere. And you've just secured your vacation with your family. And it's a peace of mind.
We know we've got 8 sets of magnets on here, so we know we can't pull this thing off. And you've got the dynamic pressure when you're going down the road of the wind hitting this thing.
Yeah.
Is there a chance of this thing blowing off?
No, not at all. Yeah, the dynamic force on this alone with your wind pressure is 285 pounds. Then combined with the magnets, you're at another 320, you're at 605 pounds. Holding this thing right in place at 62 miles an hour. It's not going anywhere.
Fit2Ride is the website. Fit, the number 2 rides, where you can find these made specifically for your vehicle. It's going to keep the chips down, and of course it's going to keep it clean so you don't get those swirl marks when you're cleaning it. Fit2Ride.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonfireTools.com, so stay tuned.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon Studio.
Stall, acceleration, multiplying torque to full coupling. Bam! Welcome to this Amsoil Tech Tip. This is a good illustration of how a torque converter works. Now, what's going on with a torque converter? It's actually multiplying torque from the engine through the transmission out to the wheels, and this fan's a great illustration. And what's happening here is this is actually would be bolted to the engine. So this is spinning at engine speed. When I'm at idle, well, it's stalled. This end's not moving. I'll show you that in a minute. Then what happens when you take off, we start multiplying torque, and then eventually it gets up to coupling phase. Not totally, and I'll show you that as well. What's going on inside that torque converter? Well, you can see it right here. It all starts at the front cover, goes through a clutch, a turbine, a stator, and an impeller. Better yet, I got one right here. Here's the actual cover here that's bolted to the flywheel. So this is spinning, and then this is a lockup converter, so this would actually lock up and give you that direct drive 1-to-1 after it's done multiplying all the torque and you just need speed. That's gonna do that for you. Now what's happening here is the first piece right here, this is the turbine. And if you look inside the turbine, you have these fins, and these fins either rotate the fluid, either vortex, or it goes through rotary flow, and that's gonna multiply torque. It's gonna hit this stator, and the stator then redirects the fluid. This is a one-way clutch. It locks up in one direction and it freewheels in the other, directs the fluid over to the impeller, and bam, back around we go from the stator to the impeller. But man, that fluid has to change directions, and people don't realize that fluid, Len, that's what's multiplying torque, period.
Right, the fluid's actually doing the job here, and it gets a ton of pressure and it creates a bunch of heat. Anytime we force the fluid to change directions that quickly, the internal friction in that fluid generates heat. So what you see, if you actually were to put a temp gauge on the converter out, it's flashing. So you can flash up to 300 degrees when you leave a stoplight hard, and the fluid has to be able to take that heat. If it can't, you get oxidation. And what oxidation is the oil actually breaking down, and you can stain this all up. And if you get depositing or staining on any of these impeller parts or all those intricate pieces you talked about, it can degrade the performance, and that is not what we want.
Now the lockup is either have a clutch material here. I still have some friction going on that one-to-one drive after the fluid did its job.
Yeah, but we can't get there without the fluid, right? So the fluid's gonna get you from stopped to highway speed, and all of that pressure has to go through it. So it's critical that you pay attention to the proper application of the fluid, and then our end of it, building the fluid, which we take great pains to do it properly.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing how much beating and abuse the fluid has to take. We just saw it inside of the torque converter. Why not use the best fluid you can to protect your valuable investment? You can do that by going to amsoil.com.
Our paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week has a story that'll make you smile. It's Nathan Genty. Now, Nathan tells me he learned a lot about cars from his grandfather when Nathan was growing up, and then Nathan went to shop class to learn even more. Well, Nathan seemed to just have the knack for things mechanical, so he became an engineer for GM for a number of years. Then he decided to strike out on his own, and he started a body shop, which is still going strong. But here's where it gets fun. Nathan and his wife Amelie met through a family member who knew they'd get along because both Nathan and Amelie had classic Volkswagen Beetles. That's awesome. And Nathan tells me they're a great match, partly because Amelie likes old cars, and partly because she's not just his wife, she is an enabler. They now have 5 vehicles, and every one is older than the couple. That includes the Beetles, of course, an '84 Ford F-250, an '86 Camaro Z28 with a 350 Vortec engine, and this 1968 AMC Ambassador station wagon. That thing's cool. The wagon is their main daily driver, and it's pretty much all original with one exception. And it's a long story, but the original engine went missing years ago, so Nathan dropped in an LS motor. Regardless, once they saw the wagon, they knew they had to have it. And I think it's a great choice. Nathan and Amelie, and one of Nathan's friends nominated him to be Motorhead of the Week, presented by paintedautoparts.com. And you too can rat out a friend. Just go to motorheadgarage.tv and tell us your story. Motorhead Garage, presented by Dragonfiretools.com, rolls on right after this.
Motorhead Garage, presented by Dragonfiretools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. BrakeX, braking at its excellence. And by Aspire Auto Accessories, performance you can count on.
This is Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, and this is a cell phone. Of course, we all have them, and you're a Motorhead, so I know you love to be in your car. So what do you do with your phone when you're in your car? You've got a lot of options, right? You can put it on the magnet on the dash. That's on your vent. It's going to block your vent in the summertime. That's a bad deal. In the wintertime, it's going to fry your phone. And you can put it in your cup holder. You can put it on your lap. But of course, you know you're going to drive it. It's going to fall into the crack there, and you'll never see it again. And half of the states, Scott, in the union don't allow you to hold it in your hand anyway, and that's a bad idea. So what's my solution? What can I do?
So you put it in a cell phone seat. Cell phone seat is the newest device in the market. It is a single piece of plastic that's got a flexible base. All you got to do is flex this and pop it in your cup holder and release it. It's going to lock in there, and then guess what? Now you're legally hands-free. You can just drop your phone in there like that. You can also go horizontal. You got power cord access here, and here's the best part. Cell phone seat does not block your cup holder. You still have room for your drink.
Whoa, that is cool. And it's so simple. Why didn't somebody think of this before?
I don't know. It was exactly the same with me. I was driving in my neighborhood in my truck. I threw my phone in my cup holder like most people do, and it landed in some kind of a goo, you know, from my kid's squeeze pack. And I pulled my phone out, and I was kind of annoyed, and I thought, why isn't there a better solution? And kind of this idea popped in my head, and I went home to look for it. You go home and you look online, and I was like, this has to exist. It didn't exist. I couldn't figure out why. So I decided to draw it out, you know, much to my wife's dismay, as she's looking over my shoulder saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, I got an idea. So I drew it out. I found actually a designer that could do 3D AutoCAD type designs, and we 3D printed them just to test it out. And I got the first one I remember that was 3D printed, and it was huge. It was like this big. And the guy that was kind of helping me with the designs felt bad. He's like, I messed it up, it's too big. I was like, no, send it, let me see it. I need to know if this works. Sure enough, I put the big one in my cup holder. Even though it was giant, it worked perfectly. So we kept going, and as you can see now, we have the final version. It took about 6 years to actually get this just right. But now we have a universal cell phone mount that fits in about 90% of vehicle cup holders, holds pretty much any phone, phones with cases, any type of phone, phones with accessories, pop sockets, loopies, doopies, sloopies, whatever you got. This one simple device is going to work for most everything.
What are some of the little extras you put a lot of thought into to keep the phone in place there?
Sure. So the first thing we did was we cut out these side slots here, and that's going to allow you to put your phone in there horizontal. Interestingly enough, it also works with tablets in that horizontal slot. We put this in my son's cup holder on his car seat, and he can put his iPad in there for long road trips. We put a flexible tab here that's going to put a little pressure on the phone, so it's going to hold phones in there, you know, phones without cases, smaller phones, it's going to hold those in a little bit tighter. And then it also can flex back when you have bigger cases like this. This is an iPhone 14 Pro with a wallet on it. It's going to be able to flex back and hold those in there as well. Those bigger cases with OtterBox cases, it's going to be able to push that tab back and hold that in as well. We have power cord access here, so obviously people want to be able to charge their phone in the car car. And I like the fact that this sits in your cup holder. Your power cord is staying down here to the side. A lot of newer cars have those flexible tabs in their cup holders or those rubber kind of squares. So we cut the slots out here to allow those tabs to go right in there, and they work great. It's so fun to put this in when you have those spring-loaded tabs and hear it just click in place like it's meant for it. But that doesn't mean that you need those tabs. It's going to work with cup holders without the tabs or without the rubber things as well. You know, it's going to work in a lot of different cup holder styles as long as they're between about 2.5 to 4 inches and round, which pretty much
most of them are, right?
Most of them are.
You put so much thought into the design. How much thought did you put into the materials that you're using as well?
We talked about doing, you know, different types of plastics. We talked about doing different types of materials like rubber. We landed on ABS plastic, which is the same thing that Legos are made out of. It's a very non-toxic, safe plastic, right? Because kids play with it. And if you've ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night, you know how strong ABS plastic is.
Guilty as charged.
This is a very strong, well-made device. It's going to work in extreme heat. It's going to work in, you know, extreme cold. It's a very universal material.
It's a veteran-owned company. The product is made in America, and this is going to make things a lot safer and more convenient for you when you're behind the wheel. It is called the cell phone seat. You can find it at cellphoneseat.com. Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, does not run without you. We appreciate your tuning in. We hope you do it again next week when we do it all again. So long.